and a little scary. Not something I would have wanted to do, but I did. Before that, when I was young, maybe early teenager, Uncle Chick, who was a pilot, had a plane at Zahns Airport up here, a fabric fuselage plane, little tiny, like a Piper Cub kind of thing. He said, "Charlie, you want to go up for a flight? You want to fly?" "Yeah, we'll go." So we took off and we went up, and I could look at Lindenhurst and everything, and afraid to touch the cloth that was the frame of the plane. And then he started to loop-de-loop and all scared the heck out of me.
Wow.
It was Floyd's father.
What about you, Mom? When was the first time you were on a plane? Do you remember?
Bermuda, probably.
Yeah, I was married.
Yeah.
I think one of our vacations, Bermuda,
Probably Bermuda. Yeah.
Jamaica,
Was it a jet or a prop or probably a prop, huh?
jet.
It was a jet? Okay, so you didn't go on.
It was late in the game when she finally got on the plane.
Trying to remember. How did I get down to South Carolina when you were in the second time?
You flew in. That was good.
That must have been the first.
She came down to visit me when I was in Cherry Point, and she had to take a flight someplace there, and then that was on a regular plane. Then she had to take a little puddle
to
jumper
New Bern.
to New Bern, North
Yeah.
Carolina, where
Yeah,
I picked her
that
up.
was my first.
That was probably the first time.
Were you scared?
Imagine I was. Yeah. Well, I'm going to go see my husband and see his vacation he had for a year.
That's what it was.
Dad, how long have you been a member of the Lindenhurst Fire Department?
58 years.
58 years. What's your badge number?
1.
1. So you are the oldest living member of the department currently?
No,
Is that
I'm
what
not,
that means?
actually.
How do you get badge number 1?
Well, you live longer than anybody else in your own company. See, my
Ah.
company is the first company, so we have badges from 1 to 60.
Gotcha.
The next company has from 60 to 120, and then from 120. So each company is 6 companies, so the last guy's got 400, something like that. My company has 1 to 60, and my company has a policy of the oldest active member gets badge number 1 and keeps it as long as either until he dies or until he leaves town and doesn't become active.
Right.
So most guys don't have it always too long, because when they get it, they're in their 70s or late 70s, something like that. But I took it on like a consignment. I told them I'll take it as long as you can guarantee I can have it for 20 years. So I have a long time before the 20 years is up.
How long have you had it?
I've had it since
Couple years.
Couple years.
maybe 4 years
Yeah.
or so. But I am the oldest member in my company. However, in the fire department, there are guys a lot older than me. They don't get badge number 1 because their company doesn't have badge number 1.
Gotcha.
That's all. John Blankenhorn is older than I am. There's probably 6 or 7 other guys that are older than me. A lot older.
And you joined your department because why?
Well, both grandfathers were in the fire department. My father was in the fire department, so I had to join the fire department. My grandfather Abrams was a charter member in the Bay Rats, the Bay Company. My grandfather John Tanner was a charter member in the Breslau Engine Company. So then my father had to join when he got to be of age. And actually, I could have been in a lot longer had I joined before I went into service, because the time in the service counts to your time in the fire department. I didn't choose to do that. I went into service first, and my second tour of duty, I was already in the fire department. But so I would have been in 3 years longer. I'd been 61 years by now. But it's okay.
So was joining the fire department something kind of expected of you because of the family, or was
Yes,
it
I
expected of
think
everyone
so.
at
Yeah,
that
it was something
time?
I was really supposed to do. Number one, we lived across the street from the firehouse.
Sure.
To make the things, and My father had to have his son in the fire department.
Mm.
It was a thing you did. And there was a lot of that stuff going on around those years, you know. After that, guys didn't, well, John joined, but none of my other kids.
When we were married and lived on High Street, and if he was out someplace with the car, and the fire whistle would go off, he would, go right to the fire. And then when he got back from the fire, he would just run across the street and come home. And then all of a
And the
sudden,
next morning, I would look in the driveway and where's my car? Somebody stole my car. I forgot that I left it where,
at the firehouse.
or on Wellwood Avenue.
Yeah,
Because Wellwood Avenue, that
No
parking in the
parking
middle
means-
of the street.
they had no
is-
parking meters.
Or if I would go to the store, be out someplace and then come back and stop at the grocery store, A&P or something on Wellwood Avenue, park the car, come out of the grocery store and walk home, because it was only across the street. And then only later realized the car wasn't there anymore. Where did I leave it? That happened a lot.
In the village someplace.
Yeah.
And Mom, you've been part of the Lindenhurst Fire Department for how long, and what has been your involvement?
Since 1950.
Mm-hmm.
I was pregnant with Connie. Well, Nana was in the auxiliary, so naturally she wanted me to join, so I joined.
Mm-hmm. And was your father in the fire department too?
Yes, my father was.
In the Lindenhurst Fire Department?
Yeah, going to sheet floor.
Okay.
What's that called? Hose?
Chemical and salvage company.
Chemical and salvage. Yes, he was quite active. As I say, he was sick at times, so. But I think he got his 20-year in.
Oh, yeah, he was in more than 20
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
But he lived, in the backyard of the firehouse too. Just had to run over there
Right.
when the whistle blew.
And tell me how, Dad, you got involved with the Cemetery Association, and how long you've been working on that.
Kind of like the same story. My grandfather was the original, one of the original trustees of the cemetery, Grandfather Tanner. Bought the plot. He later gave the plot to my father, who then became a trustee on the Cemetery Association. And when my father was very sick with the cancer, he knew he wasn't going to last too long. He insisted that I go out with him and have the deed transferred over in my name. And he told the rest of the trustees at that time is that if something happened to him, he wanted his son to be a trustee in the cemetery. So something did happen to him, and I was a trustee of the cemetery. And I really wasn't, an active part of it. I went to the meetings. I didn't say much, and I was young at that time, and still now. Everybody on the cemetery board was generally in their 75s or 80s, and I was very young. And so I just kind of sat back. What happened to really get me involved is that the treasurer, who was a guy in his 70s, or late 70s, I guess, dropped dead one day. And my uncle, Joe Water, was the superintendent at the time and the secretary. And he came up to the house, he said, Rob Wild died, and we want you to be the treasurer. I don't know what's involved, but oh, it's no problem. You said they write a few checks, and Carol can help you out, blah blah blah. So, so I went and I got this briefcase, which is all the guy had. Fortunately, he was very particular. He had kept excellent records, and I could decipher what was going on. I saw what reports he had to make for the meetings, and the first couple of years I just copied the format that he used, and let it go right. Then I really got into it and became a really active part of it. And then years later, when other people started dying off, then I got to be the general manager as well as the treasurer. So now I have a much more active part. But in the beginning, I really was a thing that I thought maybe would go away. And it really didn't go away.
50 years later, here you are.
Thanks.
Well, and when I got to the point where I was
40, how many years?
involved,
I forget.
well, since 1960, so it's 44 years, 47 years, something like that. And they never did before. I started going to the state, New York State has a cemetery board that controls all the cemeteries. And they periodically have meetings and seminars and stuff. So I started to go and really find out what we weren't doing or what we were doing wrong and how to make it right, and started to make a lot of changes in the way we operate. So, and I still go to those. They're nice meetings. They're Albany once in a while, and sometimes you go over to the place in Long Island. Once in a while, I have it down at the Plowdysher House. So, it's there's a lot of things to do, and you got to make a report to the state every year. You have to be audited by a CPA, an outside auditor every year. So the books have to be right.
You deal with a lot of money too.
About $500,000, yeah.
Mhm.
When we abscond, it's going to just all go with us.
Right. So I was a treasurer for a couple organizations too, but you know, it's $1,000, $2,000, not worth absconding with that.
Well, that's why I became treasurer of the engine company, because they got a lot of money.
So whenever we go on vacations, going on vacation again.
What other organizations have you belonged to over the years, Mom?
Oh, well, naturally, PTA.
Do a lot of bake sales with the PTA
Oh,
and things
yeah,
like that,
right.
fundraisers,
Right. And
church groups.
church groups,
Yeah.
Ladies' Aid, and what else was I in? Fire Department Auxiliary, Vets Club Auxiliary,
Mm-hmm.
but we've disbanded our auxiliary and just joined in with the men now. We have a couple thousand left in our treasury, and so we just gave it to the men, and because it was
Republican Club,
Mm, Rotary.
Republican Club.
Rainbow Center.
I was treasurer of the Republican Club quite a few years.
What about the Rotary Club?
And the Rotary now, yeah.
Yeah. It's about 3-4 years now, I guess, Rotary.
Oh, yeah, at least, maybe
Mhm.
more.
And so, also, big part of what you've done is be an elected official. When did you first run for elected office?
In 1990.
1990?
I ran with
And-
another trustee and the judge.
And so that was 17 years ago.
I
You were
retired.
you were no spring chicken.
No.
But why at that point did you suddenly decide to get involved with politics? What was your motivation there?
Well, I was asked.
Other than getting away from Dad a little bit.
Yeah, I
more?
was asked.
You were asked. Okay.
That's a funny story, because for at least 4 years prior to her being asked to run, I used to get a call from the Republican leader almost every year, and that's
Every other year.
be a
Right.
trustee or be the mayor, like to run, like to put you on the ticket. Thanks, but no thanks. And this one year, the same guy called me. I answered the phone. He said, "Hi, Charlie. How you doing?" I said, "Bob, before you even start, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to your wife." And that was it.
There you go. Did you enjoy your
Oh,
time
sure.
doing that?
Yeah.
Was it?
I never thought I would, go up again and again.
So how many? So you did it
I was
Sure.
4 times.
four times.
Yeah, it's a 4-year term.
Wow.
I went 4 times.
So each time was it? Did you have to kind of agonize over? Do I do this for another 4, or did it kind of, for the most part, seem pretty fluid?
Yeah, the first 3 times, I guess, right?
Maybe
And
towards the end.
then the last time, I told them definitely this is it. I'm
Right.
not going to run again after this. So, the most nerve-wracking was the day of the vote.
Did you worry about not being reelected?
Of
Yeah.
course, So I would make Dad go down to the headquarters.
She wouldn't go down.
Or wherever they were meeting. I said, "You go down and find out."
And if I got elected, call me and I'll come down.
Or he'd come back for me. But
Who was in your political career? Did you meet any famous politicians?
oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
Mayor Giuliani
Mm-hmm.
and
Congressman Lazio.
Congressman Lazio, and a lot of the local ones, Sweeney and Johnson, Owen Johnson, and
So, what was the when you reflect on your career or your service in an elected position? What do you look back and say I'm most proud of something that happened while you were in your office?
I
things
think
that were done
Walmart's coming into the village
Mhm.
supermarket.
that really helped.
Yeah, we really needed that.
Yeah.
I was all for that, and I was always happy to, when new businesses came in. And after we had a fire and all those stores burnt out, then we made a nice park there. And
Right on the corner of Wellwood and Hoffman there. Yeah.
I thought, we don't, somebody wanted to rebuild the stores, and I thought, we have enough stores that are struggling and a lot are empty, so I said I think the park is the way to go. And now we have a district court there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is incidentally in the
Yeah.
craft building that a father worked out of years
Yeah,
ago.
Oh, that was the
That's
craft
the
building.
yeah, that was
Really?
the
So
building.
your dad worked in that building.
Yeah, that's
Huh.
the building.
Yeah,
That's funny.
so that was nice.
Huh.
Oh, that's well, that cleaned up the village, and they have the beautification committee. They do flowers and flags and
That's what else you belong to.
beautification.
Right.
I keep busy. Somebody said,
And
"What
of
do you
course,
do with all
she
your
has
time?"
the
time?
Carroll Tanner Ballroom now
Oh,
at the Rainbow
yes.
Center.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, they named the big room for me.
Right up here on
Yeah.
On Buffalo?
Buffalo?
a big plaque with your name on it.
Yes,
Sign on the
hanging
door.
over the door. Says
Oh,
Ken.
I'll need to go get some video of that.
Yes.
Splice that in. And so, Dad, you had your own radio and TV shop for a while. How many years did you have that?
About 10, I guess.
Was it by yourself, or did you have a
My
partner?
partner, George Englert, was the partner.
And
He was a salesman, and I was the guy that fixed them. So we sold radios and TVs and serviced them.
was business good?
Yeah, business was very good. Look back, it doesn't seem like a lot. Service call used to be $3. Now they come for $50